Hey, it's Rebecca Lieb.
And I'm Jason Horton.
And we are Ghost Town, a show about weird history, hauntings, unexplained events, true crime, and all kinds of bizarre phenomenon the world over.
From unsolved murders to haunted manors.
Satanic panic to internet mysteries.
Buy a ticket to our abandoned amusement park.
A VIP ghost pass to our haunted club?
No.
Bottle service.
We have new episodes of Ghost Town every Wednesday and Friday, and you can find Ghost Town wherever you get your podcasts.
Good evening, pussycats. And how are we all tonight? I hope you had a peaceful day. I've been typing up more of your strange but true stories for my creepy files, so keep them coming in, my dears. Oh, for heaven's sake, who is that at this time of the night? It's gone 8. Hold on. I'm coming! A pesky salesperson. Again. It's all right. I took care of him. Gave him a sip of my special brew. I keep it by the door for such occasions. Knocked him straight out. That's one less door-to-door salesperson in the world to bother people. Now, where's my sore?
This is my first post and it might be a long one, so bear with me here. Now, this happening takes place way back when I was around 20 years old. I had been wanting to get into acting for some time, and I finally decided to just go for it, and I auditioned for a local small college town theater. It was for their Halloween season play, so it was Dracula. I ended up getting the lead role of Dracula. Pat myself on the back for my first ever audition. They wanted to go with the younger Dracula as opposed to the older version. Funny enough, my theater teacher at school got the role of Van Helsing, so I felt more comfortable knowing one of the actors. Him and another actor, who he had done a few plays with, were kind enough and nice enough to make me a part of their little clique, since I was the outsider in the cast. Local theater is usually all the same people doing plays when they can, and it's a tight-knit group. After our first night of rehearsal, my teacher and his buddy, who was playing Lucy's dad in the play, invited me to the bar across the street, as was their tradition, for a couple of drinks, to talk shop and talk shit. The buddy was big into hauntings and such, so he asked me if I had any knowledge of the playhouse that we were acting in. I, of course, said nope, and he and my professor looked at each other in a should we tell him manner. My professor gave a sure go ahead point in my direction, and they went on to tell me that the building, way back in the day, was once a movie theater. Now, as the story goes, a young woman, about my age, was blown off by her boyfriend one night, so her and her friends decided to go catch a movie. She actually ended up seeing her boyfriend there and was so upset that she ended up falling down some stairs at the theater while running away and accidentally killed herself. They told me that the young woman likes to occasionally haunt the dressing room area downstairs. And although they've never experienced anything, they heard that, every once in a while, she gets a crush on an actor and she moves his clothes around. I didn't buy it. I knew a good haze when I heard it, so I naturally assumed that they were setting me up. Now, a few weeks go by and I have to start dress rehearsals before anyone else, because I have to learn cape movements and stupid shit like that, so I go downstairs and change into my costume of my own and, being the neat freak I am, I fold my normal clothes up and set them on a chair. With rehearsals done, I go to change back into my normal clothes, and my clothes are strewn about the dressing room. I think nothing of this because I assume it's the guys trying to play a prank on me. I meet them at the bar. I assume they'll ask about the clothes, try and bait me into saying what happened, only to laugh at me. So I don't say a word about it, because I don't want to feed into it. Nothing. The subject of my clothing is never mentioned. We hang out, make fun of one of the other actors that we mutually don't like, and go home. Now, this happens a few times. I change, My clothes get moved around while I'm on stage for rehearsal, and we go to the bar and it's like it never happened. One night, I even watched them the entire rehearsal, even when I was on stage, to see if anyone snuck downstairs, but nothing. Yet my clothes were all jacked up. So after that night, we're sitting there, and I finally break and I call them out. I tell them I'm impressed because I watched them all night, and how did they do it? No one left my sight? Is there a ringer? Have they been using the side door outside? They look genuinely baffled at me. Huh? My professor says. The hell are you talking about? His buddy inquired. I'm getting agitated at this point. My clothes are thrown all over the dressing room each night, and I know it's you guys or someone else is in on it to haze the new guy. They look at each other and ask me again what's been going on, so I explain again that they're fucking with me. They both get a look on their face of disbelief and somehow giddy. You mean to tell me she has a crush on you? They ask. I tell them I'm not buying it and they can cut the crap, but they both swear, and then they ask me if there's been anything else, to which I tell them no. The buddy is totally gleeful because he'd only heard the rumors but never actually been around for it. At this junction, I'm not sure what to believe, but they swear up and down it's not them, and they didn't tell anyone else that they told me about the ghost girl. After that talk, the closed horseplay kind of faded. It still happened, but not as much because everyone began dress rehearsals, so more people were in the basement. I became used to it, prank or not. I just collect my clothes, ask her nicely to please not throw my pants on the ground, and get dressed when it would happen. No harm, no foul. Then, it was the opening night of the play. I got there kinda early because of my nerves, and we were instructed to enter from the side door. Just my luck, the side door, which led directly into the dressing room area in the basement, was locked, which I found peculiar because I could see light coming from the bottom of the door, which meant someone, likely the assistant director, was there. So I assumed she had just forgotten to get that door, so I made my way to the front and came in through the main doors. It was pitch black in the entire theater. Even the box office was dark as I walked into the main part with the stage and the audience seating. I couldn't even see my hand in front of my face, it was so dark, minus a sliver of light I could see peeking out from the curtain, the light in the basement no less. So I made my way down an aisle, all the while calling out if anyone was there, like a dumbass about to be murdered in a horror movie. I finally felt my way to the basement and was getting closer to the light coming from the bottom of the steps to the basement. That's when I heard it. Deep in the basement, I could hear weeping. It was faint, but it was there. I assumed it was the assistant director. Maybe she got into a fight with her husband or something. So, I slowly crept down the stairs, all the while calling out for her and asking if she was okay. When I got downstairs, there was no one there. But still, the crying was apparent. Beyond the dressing rooms is a large, dark room that only a small curtain separates me from a labyrinth of props and set pieces. I identified that room as the source of the crying. I peeked my head through the curtain, and the crying was deafening. I asked if they were okay, and I heard a sob and a loud, "No." I informed whoever it was that I'm sure it'll be okay, and if they wanted, we could sit down and talk before the others showed up. "I'd like that," the voice said, and I could hear steps and crying coming my way, but couldn't really see anyone. Yet, the steps and weeping were getting closer, making their way through the dark. In a moment, I could begin to see a haze of a shape coming into focus from the darkness. Just as that was happening, I began hearing loud banging on the front doors upstairs, as if someone were trying to get in. This made me jump out of my skin, and I turned to look behind me. When I turned back to look into the darkened haze, the crying had stopped, and it was incredibly still and silent. You could hear a pin drop in the whole building. Creeped out, I made my way back up the stairs far more swiftly than when I went down. I made my way through the pitch black, only this time I noticed a light up in the tech room, once the projector room, so I headed for it. Except no one was there. I felt like I could see a shadow, but maybe it was my eyes playing tricks on me. I made my way to the box office area where the front doors were, where I had moments earlier heard them rattle violently, and standing outside the doors was my professor. He had a shocked look on his face, as if confused that he was seeing me. He slowly pointed at the front door, and I opened it and he came in. "How are you here?" he asked. I was confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean, how do you get inside?" he said. I replied, "I came in through the door." "Which one? They're all locked. No one's here with the keys yet." I repeated, "I came in through this front door. It was locked. I just tried it a few moments ago. The side door is locked too, but I could see a light on, so I figured someone was here." I then told him everything that happened. His face went pale in disbelief. We went back to the stage area as I was telling him everything, and that's when I noticed that the tech room light was on, and he pointed out that there is no light coming from the basement anymore as well. I told him I didn't dare touch any light switches. We decided to sit outside and wait for others since we were both freaked out. As soon as we stepped outside, we heard a click on the front door and checked. It had been locked again. And then a palm print appeared on the glass and disappeared. After that, there were no more strange encounters or happenings during the 2-week run of the play.
Do you feel misunderstood? Afraid to talk to others out of fear you'll be thought of as weird?
Does your mom get irritated with you for bringing up Jeffrey Dahmer at the dinner table?
Are you looking for someone you can relate to? Well, we've got you covered.
Hi, I'm Taylor.
And I'm Sydney, host of the comedy podcast, This Is Gonna Sound Weird.
A podcast that embraces topics such as true crime, the paranormal, or anything that would make your coworkers uncomfortable if you brought them up in the break room.
Get Weird with us each Friday on Spotify and Apple Podcast.
Oh, excuse me. This is hard work, especially when the saw is so blunt. Ah, the theater, the stage, how I miss it. I used to be quite the actress back in the day. I imagine it would be great fun to come back when I'm dead and scare the bejesus out of all those young, budding thespians. What's that line from Macbeth? When shall we three meet again? In thunder, lightning, or in rain? Now, how closely do you ever peer into people's windows?
My name is David Irons, and this is my story. I'm a horror writer, and it's hard to talk about the paranormal because, one, people think whatever you say is just something you've just pulled out of one of your books, or people think you're crazy and you just put paranormal things in your books because you believe all the things that you write down are real. I'd say I'm a healthy skeptic when it comes to the paranormal. I'd like to believe there's more than what I see every day out there. There has to be something better than this. If this is as good as it gets, then I think we're in trouble. I'd like to believe there's something more than what we experience every day. Then with this story, maybe I experienced that. I moved down to the coast from North London down to Brighton about 4 years ago. I came here and I didn't have any friends here, any family here. I had no work here. It was just a huge life change. I didn't know what I was going to do here, but I knew I wanted to be here. I felt like this was the right place to be for me. Just the right atmosphere. Brighton's a very open-minded place, and you can basically be who you want to be. You don't feel like you're being judged there. You can just do whatever you want to do. Writing novels doesn't necessarily always pay the bills. You can make no money with a book, you can make a lot of money with a book, and sometimes you can make some money with a book. It's very transient, it's very here and there. You just don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work. And so I couldn't really rely on that when I first came here. And I've always been pretty good with my hands. So I thought, right, I'm just going to be a handyman. So I got some flyers printed and just went out door to door. And some of the strange thing that happened, it was one night, it was winter, it was when it gets dark. And I was going around and I was handing out leaflets. And I was in a little cul-de-sac just outside of Brighton. And, nothing felt out of place at all. Everything seemed quite normal. And I walked up to one house, and I do have to admit something. When I went to that house, there was a strange feel to it. It wasn't menacing. It wasn't a malevolent feeling. It had an odd feel as I walked over there. The one thing that I noticed that was different from all the other houses was from the front living room window was a golden glow. And I walked up towards the house, and as you do, you just sometimes you're a bit nosy. You just look in, and you kind of get a feel of what the person's about. If you end up speaking to them, you kind of get an idea. And I distinctively remember looking through the front room window, and the insides of the house were really old. It was looks from the 60s, from the 70s, that kind of era, like floral wallpaper, floral sofas and three-piece suite and an old carpet. It just felt like something from another time. Something just hadn't been updated in a long time. And when you're on the coast, you do find lots of places like that, where people go there to retire and they live in a house, they live there forever, and they never change the decor, it just stays the same. And I just thought it was something like that. I genuinely did. And when I was looking into this living room and into the gold light, there was an old lady just sitting there on a chair next to the sofa, and she was just as still as a mannequin. She wasn't making any movements. She was just sitting there looking ahead. I thought she's probably watching TV, whatever else. And I went to go and put the note through the door, and obviously someone saw me and the door opened, and a lady came out and said, "Oh, hi, can I help you?" And I did the spiel and introduced myself. "Hi, I'm David, I'm a local handyman, I do this and that." And we engaged in a conversation, and I was there talking to her for like 5-10 minutes, and we were chatting away. And I did notice the lighting in the hallway was very different to the lighting in the front room. There was no golden glow coming from the hallway. There was just in the front room. So we were talking there, and I said, "Oh yeah," I told her my story. I moved down from North London. I'm here to do this and that. And while we're doing this, I'm looking into the front room. The golden light's there, and the old lady's sitting in a chair, and she's still not moving. Just we're carrying on talking. And the lady at the front door turned around and said, "Would you like to come and, we've got some work for you to do here. If you want to come around and give us a quote for it another day, then would you do that?" And I said, "Yeah, that's fine." So we arranged a date, which was like a week later. And she said, "Yeah, come back then and we'll have a look and take it from there." And it's like, okay, cool. So a week went by, I didn't think any more of it. And when we was booked in to go back, I went back round there, and I walked into the house, and the first thing I noticed was the living room. And the living room was completely unlike what it was before. It was a modern living room. You had laminate floors, you had just plain white walls, you had a couple of pictures on the wall, there was a modern couch. it was a completely different room. It was a different space. There was no gold light in there, nothing else. It just looked like an average, normal living room. And there was nothing out of the ordinary about it. I just said, yeah, like, oh, you've redecorated. And she said, I haven't redecorated. And I didn't know what to say, really. I was like, oh, I thought it looked different before when I was here. I thought it looked different when the curtains were open before. I thought it looked completely different. And she said no. Well, the only time we have changed anything in it was when my mum passed away. It was my mum's house, and she lived here since the 60s, and she passed away 6 months ago, and she inherited the house, and that's why she was asking me to come around to do some work, because she had completely gutted the place and turned it into something different. On the wall she had some family pictures, and in the pictures was the old woman who was sort of sitting in the chair in the front room with the golden light. And I asked her, who is this, your mum? And she said, yeah. And I never told her what I saw in that house. I never experienced anything in that house. When I went to work there, it was just odd. I know how I felt from that time when I first saw it. I know what I felt looking in there and looking back now. It kind of was, because the old lady in the chair wasn't moving. It was almost like looking into an old photograph of something that happened before, a three-dimensional photograph. And that golden light was almost, you know, when you're picking up an old Polaroid or an old real film photo, and it distresses through time and it gets sunburnt and the colours kind of mute and fade and blur. That's what I was seeing through that window. It was like looking into a memory of something that happened before. And like I said, there was nothing malevolent and there was nothing evil about the situation, but I really feel that somehow in that moment I saw a moment in time that didn't exist anymore, and I can't explain it. I obviously didn't happen, but I know what I saw, and I can't explain what that is. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I would say from that experience, think that shows you there is something out there more than what we understand, and what that is, I don't know.
Well, there you have it. A time-traveling experience, perhaps? A portal into another dimension? Who knows? Until next time, little fruit bats, sleep well.